Hello, everybody, and welcome to Sales Chats. This is Eric Quanstrom with you, and John's unfortunately away today, but in his stead, we actually have two on the other side. So let me first introduce Edward Vander Kleijn, who is a well-known B2B lead generation specialist who's passionate about promoting entrepreneurship. Edward, hello, how are you?
Hey, Eric, how you doing?
Fantastic, fantastic. Edward's joining us from briefyourmarket.com over in the UK in Derby, and he's actually joined as well with Ashton Mitchell, who will be tweeting under the Brief Your Market handle.
Hi.
Hi, Ashton. So as we love to do here on Sales Chats, we just love to jump right into our topic du jour, and today we're talking about something that seems like you may not have thought about it in quite a long time, whether on your marketing team or in your sales approach, but where in the sales cycle does the newsletter, the humble email newsletter, fit in? Edward, talk to us.
Well, you know, there's a lot of marketing that goes on these days, and you know, we get bombarded with social media messages. So if you look at all these different messages that go on, I think the the newsletter really fits in, and where you can maximize on newsletters, I think, is when you want to sort of create awareness for your company, yeah. So and think of this as multi-channel, yeah. So now we're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, we're on LinkedIn if we're B2B marketing. So we were talking to customers all the time. The newsletter is really a great tool to create awareness in your marketplace and nurture those people who perhaps don't really know much about you into potential prospects or even customers.
Sure.
So it's a great way. It's also so that's at the beginning of the sales cycle of the marketing campaign.
Right. But I get a sense that where we really want to center the discussion here is the using the newsletter to do a job that maybe most people don't give it enough credit for, and that is truly nurturing people in the buy cycle. Is it not?
Yeah, agreed. I mean, the thing is, I think we, as salespeople, always like to think that everybody wants to buy our product, but the reality is that not everybody wants to buy a product. You don't become the president of the United States with 100% of the votes. So there's gonna be always people that are not interested. So how do you keep them informed? You've touched them with some sales collateral, maybe a phone call. They've downloaded a brochure from your website. They may be following you on Twitter. But how do you really keep sort of tabs on them without spending too much time trying to fit? As salespeople, I think we fool ourselves sometimes, don't we? That some prospects, they're not prospects, they're just suspects. They're people that you like to just have a chat with. So, actually, a sales newsletter really has a great role on keeping those people within your sphere of influence and giving them relevant, up-to-date information, at a time that they can access it themselves. There's a really neat tool within briefyourmarket.com which actually allows people to choose what they want to receive. So you can create a newsletter that actually contains information for all, but you can select what you want to receive out of it.
Well, so that's an interesting concept because, and you use the word suspects, which I suspect that a lot of the folks listening to this podcast are going to be guilty of having that mindset, right? Where it is kind of like, this person, I don't know if they're, I qualified them, but they really have no intent to purchase. What should I do? They're in limbo land, but really to cut through the clutter, don't I have to be relevant to them, right? That's the key question that has to be answered, isn't it?
Yeah, it does, exactly. So in sales conversations, it's really important to ask key questions, but from time to time, people, stuff happens in their business, things change. So where is they're really interested in a product, you really think it's going to help them. As a salesperson, you've developed a relationship with them, but they're just not right at that moment in time to make a decision. And it's actually okay to say, look, this is a no for now, but not a no forever. We send out information all the time. What's relevant to you? Put me on your newsletter list, and let me share with you what you're really interested in. And it doesn't always have to be your product or service. It might be just helpful things. I think in the B2C marketplace, I think brands really have a role to play in being a community voice, if you like. Even if you're a local restaurant, for example, it doesn't have to always be about what's going on or what the offers are in your restaurant. It could be about what the local solicitors has got on offer. You never know, but it attracts a different clientele. And so the solicitors' clients get to find out more about your restaurant.
So really what you're advocating for is almost a back-to-basics approach where we say the content marketing, which has gotten so much buzz, light, and heat over the last few years, and really is at the forefront of just about every marketer's mind, is really best suited for kind of a potpourri or a gravel, or a newsletter kind of by definition includes a lot of different things, the sense of news, what's new, but it's not just about you and your product, as you said, right?
Absolutely great. Absolutely great. I mean, who wants to receive an email, about the details of how a car engine works? It's not interesting to me, but information about who the latest presenter on Top Gear is, I think is interesting. So if you're a car brand, that's something that you need to be talking about, because that's, I want to click on that. I want to read that. I want to, So meanwhile, I'm promoting other content, but I get to find out stuff that I'm interested in. But at the same time, because I'm curating that content as the brand, I'm exposing myself to you as a customer.
So that leads
and again, the newsletter has then a role to play, because it's kind of a mini website, right? So within that, you can create call to action for people to click through and inquire.
So that leads us perfectly, nice segue, into our second question, which is where should newsletter content be sourced from?
Well, I mean, we've got some tips. The great key to newsletter content is organization. I take it back to people. Especially if you're a small business, it's really difficult to take time away and actually spend a lot of time for this. You need some help. Yeah, you can't do this on your own. So try to think yourself as the project manager. Organize yourself around the topics that you want to communicate, and then bring in some specialists. You might have them in your business. People that are good with graphic design. People who are good at copywriting. People who are meticulous about spelling and proofreading. Yeah, so give them a role to play in the newsletter team, if you like, the little project team, and then you as the business owner can be the project manager, because at the end of the day, it needs to have a beginning of the project and an end, and it needs to be published. Then the second tip of that is have a calendar. We have 12 months in the year. We can organize it in a calendar, and stuff happens. In January, stuff happens. We've got New Year's resolutions. In February, we got Valentine's Day. In April, we've got Easter. I mean, the thing is, there's always something happening. And the thing is, you're principally thinking, oh, I need to sell. I want it to be product specific. Well, actually, you don't need it to be. You just spin it around, milestones within the year, and actually, suddenly, you've got heaps of content to talk about that actually people are interested in that time. Another key thing is that what are the industry milestones? If you're an accountant, it's the tax review. That happens once a year. Here in the UK, the Chancellor has a tax speech. You center a lot of content around that.
Sure. So ultimately, your best advice from a takeaway perspective is serve as the project manager if there isn't one already in your company, and then be very mindful of the calendar itself and the topical tie-ins that you can use to create content that'll be genuinely interesting to people, as opposed to trying to ram things down everyone's throat.
Yeah. For want of a better phrase, of course.
Yes.
Yeah, because that's how it feels like sometimes. I mean, we're so intent on making sales that I think we sometimes forget to just have a conversation with people. And when you first meet with somebody, I mean, I always use this analogy. When I go to the local bar or pub, I don't just meet somebody and then throw a business card at them. You just don't do that.
Right.
So you wanna start a conversation. Yeah. I mean, what's that all about?
Right.
So you have a conversation first, and then maybe at some point in the conversation it'll go, oh, what do you do, and what's your business, and this is one of the, and content's a great icebreaker.
Right. So let's talk a little bit about how we might view success with a newsletter program, if you will. So, one of the things that you seem to be suggesting that we monitor is how many conversations we start, right? Would that be a fair metric to look at for measuring whether a newsletter campaign is successful?
Well, how do you mean? How many conversations?
Sure. So you could look at the number of conversations that your sales team is generating, or your marketing team, or whoever the call to action or the responder in the newsletter actually is.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is with there are many different things to start a conversation about, and it needs to be something that will lead ultimately to a sale. So again, a newsletter is a way for people to enter into your brand, and if it might be just an easier way for them to sort of get over the door, the threshold, of the door, rather than people are embarrassed sometimes to just even pick up the phone and inquire.
Right.
They're afraid to ask the question just in case they get sold to. So a newsletter is a great way to start that conversation.
Sure.
The thing is, the metrics bear this out. I think is that what you're getting to? So the metrics
Absolutely.
bear this out. So I could send out the newsletter. People have selected to receive this information. One of the great statistics from Brief Your Market is that there's a 30% open rate, which is physically unheard of within email marketing. But it's because people have selected the information to arrive in their inbox. It's something they look forward to receiving. So we can actually see from the metrics. So if somebody genuinely clicks through or reads an article, or there is a pathway. There's a pathway where this looks like somebody might be interested in having a conversation with us. Now, what typically happens is that people will send out an email marketing campaign, and they will download the open report and then give it to a telemarketer to start calling. Well, hang on a minute. I'm just having a look at the email. Doesn't mean I'm going to buy.
Right.
Yeah. And then immediately start with a sales call. So again, a newsletter, a regular publication is from that you'll get metrics that'll show that people are interested. So you're almost getting into the lead scoring area. But that's that's a little bit more sophisticated. One of the things that we can offer our customers is a trigger campaign. So you have predefined milestones within a buying cycle, and emails will automatically go out at a certain point.
So it sounds to me like you're giving people permission to essentially not sell in this situation here, where the newsletter is meant to, again, just start the conversation and give people a kind of a warm and almost a gentle touch to invite them back in on their terms. Is that a fair way of?
Because there's lots of content to consume, but one of the things that you're allowing them to view is additional offers. So along the side of your newsletter, you can say, look, actually we've got an offer on here. Click here to take advantage. But it's not front and center. Sometimes you get these emails and it's like, that's the only thing I want to share with you. I don't talk to you normally, but the only thing I'm going to email you is an offer.
Right. Well, I will say one of my favorite newsletters that I've been reading for just about 10 years is by the author of Customers Included, a book that he doesn't really push at his audience whatsoever, a guy named Mark Hurst. And
Yeah.
what he does is curate his newsletter for people that are interested in all facets of where customers might be included. And one of the interesting things he does with his newsletters is cover incidents when they're not, and kind of the epic fails and the funny stories and the things that go wrong when you don't actually think with the customer in mind or include them in your process, which is really kind of his thesis and the meaning of the book.
Exactly.
Would you suggest that type of approach too from a curation side? Because I know we didn't get into where we're sourcing content, but maybe you can kind of give us some ideas for the listeners out there what they should do from a content sourcing and curation standpoint.
Right. Okay. So I mean, your business it isn't just all about you or your product. There are people that supply goods and services to you, vendors. There are publications out there who publish news about your industry. There are news sites that you can actually set up. You can set up Google alerts, with specific keywords that have got to do with your industry, and source content from the internet, and feed that into your newsletter, and create little articles about those. So that's a great way of sort of presenting yourself as a source of information. I think people sometimes misunderstand the newsletter, and really you can become that fountain of knowledge to your community, especially also to your existing clients. So existing clients may have been a happy customer for years just because you keep them up to date about what's happening in the industry.
Do you feel that we've overlooked the newsletter, that it basically has been around and it's such a kind of well-worn thing in marketing or sales approaches that we've almost devalued it to the point of becoming a checkbox item or something that's uninteresting or not a ton of thought is being placed into it?
Yeah, I think we've had a tsunami of social media, Eric. It's engulfed us. And I think the water's retreating a little bit, isn't it? I mean, we've had a CEO of Twitter, moving on. There's different things going on all the time. So we've had this wave of hype and momentum. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, it's phenomenally successful, but I think sometimes when the water recedes, what's left over, And I think these are the strongholds of marketing. Traditional stuff doesn't go out of fashion just because somebody else is shouting louder. I think the key thing is that email, at the end of the day, people are still receiving it. It's looking more and more charming on smartphones. It's easier to access on tablets. It's a direct communication between people. If I have your email address and you've given me permission, Eric, that you'd like to receive this content, it's my role to keep supplying you with that. If I don't keep supplying you with relevant content, Eric, you're going to switch me off. And the problem sometimes with social media, it's easily forgotten. You have to be there to see it. People have to check in right now in order to watch this live feed. I know it's available later on, but with the newsletter, we can look forward to receiving it.
Right, and so that gets to the other half of the equation, which is the people receiving it. So, our kind of third question that we're throwing out into the Twitter stream as well is, who wants to receive a newsletter these days? With that tsunami.
This is it. So, there's an incredible amount of information available. And again, I think as a brand or as a supplier of goods and services, your existing customer base, I think it's just a great way to sort of say. In fact, we promote this at the beginning. People say, okay, so can we buy data? Can we buy data? We want no customers. We want new customers. So, well, actually, and what the CEO of our company actually says, there are diamonds in your back garden. You're forgetting about your existing customers. So actually, let's have a look at your existing customer data and let's look at what's really happening. You've got statistics that show that there is activity going on. So let's use that, and this is why we can boast this 30% open rate, is because we integrate with existing CRM systems, Pipeliner, being at the forefront of that in this chat. There is information flowing there, so we can hook into that and actually send your existing customers. The initial campaign is always right. We're going to send out a regular newsletter from time to time, on a monthly basis. What would you like to receive? Give them the option. Ask them the question. As a valued customer, we don't want to bombard you with irrelevant information. What would you like to receive? And then they get the option to tick their preferences. And you can create a newsletter that contains everything, but only one segment receives that information, and the other segment receives the other information. And if you select all, you get all of it.
So bottom line, you're saying that direct response.
Question. So to answer your question, it's about actually asking the question, what would you like to receive?
Right. So that it is back on the person, the receiver, if you will, and delivering value to them.
Agreed. Yeah, absolutely. This is what it's all about, and that way, I think giving people relevant information at the right time, on a timely basis. I think that makes you get people who just want to read your stuff, and if you create stuff that they want to read, for it, they're actually going to say to you, it's like, where's my newsletter this month if it doesn't come?
Right.
Well, that and that's the opposite of what people actually perceive of what email marketing is.
How so?
Well, because a lot of people will get email and they say it's spam, or I don't want to receive it, and there is a bit of a negative connotation on that. So we've managed to switch that around.
Right. So the whole point here is that at some point in the customer journey or the buyer's journey, that person interacted with you and your company, right? They had a need that they were looking to fill, or a goal that they were headed towards. And whether they fulfilled that goal or not, and what you're saying is, hey, it's existing customers and it's in the diamonds in your own backyard that have yet to become customers for timing reasons, budgetary reasons, whole host of different reasons that you're saying, hey, think about these people and what they need, and self-selecting into a permission-based relationship that's ongoing and that's fed by the content that you guys have.
Exactly, and ask them to participate. I mean, that's the ultimate goal. If you become a community portal, you ask them to participate. So it becomes a collaborative process, and it creates long-term relationships. The key to sending customers relevant content along their journey will actually encourage a good feeling. They feel happy about it. So. And that will encourage retention. People stay with you as a customer for longer.
Would you say that it's really all about education, as one of our folks on the Twitter stream has just chimed in?
Education, yes. I think there is a lot of hype out there. People have knee-jerk reactions. They will say and spray. Just blast out stuff, buy a lot of data, get blocked by internet service providers and wonder why their emails are not going through, and it's because they've been told that you send out an email and that'll create sales, and it is a journey. There's a lot that needs to happen before you can actually ask somebody to do you want to buy this? Yeah. I mean that requires a lot of nurturing along the way, and again, yeah, absolutely. It's got to be quality as well. It's got to be quality content. It's got to look good. It's got to look good on a mobile phone. It's got to look good on a tablet. It's got to be relevant. If you're going to put a call to action on it, like say for example, click here. Why do you send people to the front page of your website? What's that all about? Right. And that's effectively what the newsletter can do for you. It's dynamic content. It looks a bit like your website, but you can send people offers along the periphery of the newsletter, and actually those are direct sales opportunities. Yeah, but they're not front and center.
Right.
So
really,
education. And again, just to give kind of brief your market a little bit of a heads up, we help people with this. We help people with, sort of mapping out their customer journeys and giving them the knowledge to create trigger campaigns, to send out information out at certain points and certain milestones within the buying cycle.
So one of the things that I'm hearing is that there's a number of bars that you have to exceed, that you have to, jump over the relevancy hurdle, so to speak, jump over the quality hurdle. What are some of the things that, folks that aren't using your software or ours, that they're just doing wrong, that you see commonly, that they could stop today just by, you telling them, hey, this is this is a rookie mistake.
Well, one of the things that come across a lot, Eric, is the actual data, the actual first name, last name, company name, email address, telephone number. Yeah, where do you keep all this stuff? Yeah, so if I send you an email, we'll have an email signature on it. If you use Outlook, do you right-click and add to Outlook contacts? Do you actually create a contact card for it? Do you create a physical representation of what, this is just a name and a last name and a company name. But ultimately, the whole goal of that is that you want that person to become your customer. So why don't you put some value to that actual line of data? Because at the moment it's a line of data, and a lead to me is a line of data. Yeah, not a customer. Customer is a person who's standing in front of you, shaking your hand, agreeing to do the deal. Yeah. So if you put a bit of quality in creating that line of data, and sort of it becomes more real. Yeah, because then that line of data becomes somebody who's had an email, who's downloaded your newsletter, who's downloaded some information from your website, a white paper or a case study. They followed you on Twitter. Yeah, so suddenly it becomes a rich source of content. You've had some emails backwards and forwards. Yeah, you may have, created a telephone call and then a proposal. Yeah, so suddenly you've got that's valuable. I think that's your work as a salesperson. That's your work. So you've got to put some. I think you've got to put some attention to that. And I think a lot of salespeople, they just, I've got to fill out my CRM system. Oh gosh, that's like a real hard work. Yeah, but I actually believe that's the beginning of a sale.
Yeah.
You have to believe that person's going to become a sale at some point. They might not be, because they'll become part of the statistics, as I explained earlier. 50% of all people you're going to contact are never going to buy from you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? Another 40%, is going to buy way in the future, and there's only a small, between 7. There's another 10%, 7% of which might become your customer within the next 90 days. Yeah, and then there's 3% of those people who are actually ready to buy. So if you work on those metrics, I think you put effort into sourcing and gathering the data, and moving them along, nurturing them along, giving them information that they're looking for, inviting them in for a conversation rather than constantly trying to push sales on them. I think you'll be a successful salesperson.
That's really great advice, Edward. Well, this has been fantastic. We've reviewed a lot of topics related to the newsletter, and we always love to flip the script at the end of this interview and turn it a little bit personal, just so that we can gain some insights into the experts that we have on. So, I'm going to end here, Edward, by asking you for your Sales Chat Supercharged Sales Tip of the Day, and name just one of your daily secrets to getting into the right mindset for success.
Wake up and smell the coffee. I don't know. It's a sound bad. So I hadn't thought of anything. But
caffeine is the answer.
Yeah. Just look after your data. I think that's the thing. Fill out the CRM and make it work for you, and then the metrics will show up. How you can improve. So believe in the numbers. The numbers always. The numbers don't lie. Yeah,
Fantastic.
the numbers don't. That's a good one.
Well, thank you, Edward. This has been a fun, fast discussion. That
Yeah.
I always marvel at how quickly this half hour goes.
I know, crazy, man.
Crazy.
Definitely. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. And yeah, we'll see you again soon. Yeah.
Sounds great. Thanks again, Edward. Bye now.
Thank you.